Traders, how are you? Marcello here, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader, where you guys can come and apply to use our money live for just a process starting at $120. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. Don't forget to subscribe here to the channel. The podcast is available for all of you guys that want to hear what happened to the markets overall on audio form and Spotify, iTunes. It should be available. If there's somewhere where it isn't available, let me know and I'll make sure to make it available for you. And don't forget to leave all the questions with hashtag AskMarcello. However you guys want to spell it. No H2Ls, okay? Overall this week, U.S. stocks rallied to an all-time high on Monday, more than anything due to a trade truce with China. Basically, they made an agreement and the U.S. said, well, we'll reverse the ban that we had on the company Huawei, which remember was going to be affected by billions of dollars, to be able to see if we can actually come to an agreement. S&P 500 reached a high on Monday, obviously due to this positive trade environment. Tuesday was a slow day. The S&P 500 reached a record high for the second day in a row. And Wednesday, we had record high closes for the Dow, S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. The market was closed on Thursday and slightly lower on Friday. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Earnings for the S&P 500 companies are expected to fall to 2.6% in quarter two. There's also an expectation of a small dip in quarter three, and that's after profits already fell in quarter one. If those declines actually do happen in quarter two and three, it's going to be the first time that we had a 3-quarter drop in earnings since late 2015, 2016. U.S. indices for the week, the Dow went up 1.21%, the S&P 500 1.61%, and the NASDAQ went up 1.95%. In overseas market news, Monday after the G20 summit where China and the U.S. agreed to kind of call a truce on the trade war, the markets actually surged quite a bit on Monday internationally. European traders also have been banned from trading Swiss stocks on Monday since the European Union and Switzerland cannot come to an agreement. European shares closed at their highest in over a year on Thursday, especially now since they realized that Italy is going to avoid EU disciplinary action on Rome due to the, I don't know how to say this, not irrational, but the irresponsible finances, let's say, on Italy's side. The Brazilian financial markets rallied strongly on Thursday, stocks hitting a fresh high now that Congress is approved a comprehensive and weighty pension reform bill. European markets overall are mostly higher. Italy was up 3.54%. Istanbul was up 4.35%. Latin American markets were mixed. The biggest winner was the Bovespa in Brazil at 3.09%. The Merval in Argentina went down just 0.10%. And in African and Middle Eastern markets, in Nigeria, the biggest market in Africa, went down 2.38%. Saudi Arabia was up 0.57%. And in Asia, mostly higher markets, the Japanese market, the Nikkei was up 2.21%. And the biggest loser was the Kospi in South Korea, which went down by 0.95%. Bitcoin, a lot of volatility. It's still the largest cryptocurrency overall. It's up near 200% this year. Drop in Bitcoin on Monday exceeded 18% and went down to 10,208.90. And then on Monday night, it went up another 10%. It went down, another 10% to 9,852. This is after reaching a peak of almost 14,000 on June 26th. Now, due to all this volatility, obviously, it's giving some analysts the question of whether this can actually be a viable alternative currency because it just swings so much, right? Most currencies need to be more, let's say, in a level playing field, less volatile. In finance and banking news, Australian Central Bank has lowered its key rate for the second consecutive month. They want to try to obviously help the economy get moving. They want to reduce unemployment, rekindle the dormant inflation. But the only problem is now that the percentage rate is so low, they're not going to be able to lower it anymore. So now they might have to go to unconventional policy easing, for example, printing money, buying their own debt, which in the long term isn't a very good thing. Former French finance minister Christine Lagarde, which is the current head of the IMF since 2011, is going to be tapped as the next president of the ECB, the European Commission Bank, succeeding Mario Draghi, the EU bank, I should say, not the EC. 8-year term for Draghi ends on October 31st, and if she is appointed, it's going to make her the first woman to lead the powerful institution. U.S. Treasury yields also becoming much more inverted. In commodities, U.S. oil went down 1.67% to 57.51. International Brent went down 3.27% to 64.44. And OPEC is meeting in Vienna, Austria on Monday and Tuesday to be able to go ahead and agree to I just got the hiccups, excuse me. To be able to go ahead and agree to a production cut of 1.2 million barrels per day that's going to expire at the end of June. So they want to try to extend that. That obviously could help prop up oil prices. Russia and Saudi Arabia have extended the cuts by 6 to 9 months, and members agreed in principle to formalize a charter of cooperations for people that are not in OPEC, like Russia, even though Iran was objecting to that. Gold slumps back below 1,400 an ounce, obviously with less tension with the truce and the trade war, and also, no oil tankers being blown up, as we talked about before. That puts a lot of people at ease, and they don't go buying things that they think are safe, like oil and not like gold and silver, not oil, excuse me. Precious metals for the week: gold is down 0.76% at 1,399. Silver is down 2.12% at 1,507. In political news, Brussels is going to return to attempt to choose another commissioner after failing to receive a unanimous decision on talks Sunday and Monday. It remains unclear how they're going to be able to go ahead and resolve the dispute, the impasse, I should say, not dispute, but the next ECB president has to be chosen before the 31st of October. Ursula von der Leyen, which is Germany's current defense minister and political ally of Chancellor Angela Merkel, is going to be nominated as the president of the EC to replace Jean-Claude Juncker, which is the current president. Peru has invited a lot of nations, including China, Russia, Cuba, the United States, and dozens of other countries to Lima on August 6th to talk about the ongoing political crisis in Venezuela. In economic news, starting in July, the U.S., listen to this, the U.S. economic expansion crossed an invisible line at 121 months. It is now the official longest period of growth in U.S. history. 121 months, if you guys don't know, let's go ahead and put that in it's going to be 10 years. So we're literally just over 10 years of unending growth. And of course it can last forever, right? We can go another 20 months, no problem. I've been warning you guys about this. The economy also added jobs every month since October 2010, and the GDP has stayed somewhat solid. German industry groups are slashing their production forecast for 2019, citing the trade conflicts. Even though Germany has the largest, I would say most robust economy in the European Union, in all of Europe, I should say. They've now had 9 years of successive growth. The only Achilles heel to Germany, obviously, is they rely a lot on exports. So if we have a situation where we have a trade war, obviously it's going to affect quite a bit Germany. In corporate news, the biggest IPO of the year might not be Uber. It actually might be a alcoholic beverage company called Anheuser-Busch InBev. The firm is looking to raise between $8.3 to $9.8 billion in Hong Kong from its Asia businesses, and Uber raised about $8.1 billion. Tesla, finally some good news. They delivered a record amount of cars in quarter two at 95,200. Their stock went up by 7%. It does meet the company's own goal and outpaced the 63,000 cars delivered in quarter one, and also far surpassed the 40,740 cars delivered in quarter two 2018. Samsung is forecasting a steep plunge in its quarter two operating profit. They're saying that's going to go down by a possible 50%. They're citing the U.S.-China trade war, obviously, is affecting the smartphone markets and global chip markets as well, even though one-off gains helped it beat analyst expectations. In trade news, I mentioned that we reached the truce. China is saying that they got to remove all of the tariffs on all the products coming from China in order to go ahead and make a deal. The U.S. is also proposing tariffs on $4 billion worth of European goods, which is meat, cheese, pasta, fruits, coffee, and whiskey. And this is a fight with the EU over the aircraft subsidies. Now, remember, Boeing used to be the largest aircraft manufacturer in the world. Then a bunch of companies consolidated themselves and they created Airbus. Boeing is the US, Airbus is Europe. Now Boeing is in a lot of trouble because of the crashes that we recently had. And so even before that, we had a situation where they were accusing the European government of helping Airbus through subsidies. U.S. Commerce Department is imposing duties of 400% on steel imports from Vietnam. They're actually accusing some businesses of shipping products from Vietnam to evade the levies. So basically they ship the products to Vietnam, they do a little bit of processing, very little, and then they send it to the U.S. to avoid all the extra fees. Africa's largest economy has blatantly agreed to join the new huge free trade deal for Africa. Obviously, it's aimed at boosting the manufacturing. They're going to sign the deal on the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement on July 7th. The trade bloc began in May, and it's being ratified by the parliaments of the 24 nations as well. In technology, Google's Waymo is the fourth firm awarded a permit by the California Public Utilities Commission to be able to go ahead and test their autonomous cars on the road. They are requiring the companies, though, to continue to have a security or a safety driver there behind the wheel just in case anything happens. And also, they're not going to be allowed to charge for the actual trips that they give people. They're one step closer to launching the robot taxi service. In investment news, Amazon is creating 1,800 more permanent jobs in France, which is the largest European market after the UK and Germany. After the US and China restart the trade talks, China is ending ownership limits for foreign investors in the financial sector in 2020, a year earlier than scheduled. China is also further going to open its manufacturing sector, including the auto industry, while reducing its negative investment list, which restricts foreign investment in some areas. U.S. chipmaker Broadcom is nearing a $15 billion deal to acquire software firm Symantec. Their shares went up about 18%, and Broadcom's already bought another software firm called CA Technologies for $18.9 billion in 2018. Iran says in international events that they have amassed now more low-enriched uranium permitted under the 2015 agreement with major global powers. This is the first step in the violation of the deal after the U.S. pulled out of it. In North Korea, state media is reporting that the leader Kim Jong-un and Trump at their meeting on Sunday are pushing forward with dialogue to be able to go and have a new breakthrough in denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And as I lose my voice, there was a powerful earthquake in California, 6.4 magnitude, the largest in 2 decades. Another one hit Saturday, 7.1. Hopefully everybody there in California is okay. And an unusual facts this week, we're having more extreme weather events in Guadalajara, Mexico. They awoke Sunday with 5 full feet of hail and slush. The governor there, Enrique Alfaro, was quick to attribute global warming. Some other experts are saying that it was climate change. I don't know if you guys noticed, we're not just getting super warm temperatures. We're getting extreme temperatures, right? So this situation with the rain in Alaska, we had record temperatures on history of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Mumbai, India is evacuating residents due to the worst rains in decades. Japan also has ordered more than 1 million people in its southernmost island of Kyushu to take shelter due to the heavy rain as well. So you guys can see it's not just heat, it's extreme weather, which is what I mentioned last week. A private importer in China last week bought U.S. rice for the first time ever. They bought 2 containers or about 40 tons of medium grain rice from California based in the Sun Valley. And now for sale in Monaco. This is actually a really cool looking fortified village. It was actually carved out of the rock. It's called Villa Troglodyte. It is about 2,300 square feet, 6 floors, 3 bedrooms, and 3 bathrooms, and a swimming pool carved into the rock. It took 20 months to build, and it's for sale. I highly recommend you guys look at it. It's pretty cool looking. It's expected to sell for $33 to $44 million. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. We'll see you next week, and don't forget to subscribe.